Yeah, I think so.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I guess Carolyn is running late. We know that. Umair will be here in a minute, I imagine. But we should probably get started.
At least do roll call
Rich?
and pledge.
Yeah, Rich is ready. Okay, so I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Niles Main District Library for April 16th, 2025 at 7:01 p.m.
Trustee Kadir? Trustee Derblick? She gave prior notice that she'll be late. Trustee Schoenfeld? Treasurer Vitello?
Present.
Secretary Rosansky?
Here.
Vice President Trunko?
Here.
President Keen?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, it wasn't even a minute.
No.
For public comment, we have Elliot Osherman.
Good evening, Board. This is Elliot Osherman, formerly of the Committee Against the Retention of the Three Snoozes, consisting of Mr. McCullough and Mrs. Derblick and Mrs. Schoenfeld. Mr. McCullough was not reelected. We're down to 2. Mrs. Derblick decided not to run. We're down to 1. The next election is April 6th, 2027. Dare we try for 3 for 3? I'd like to thank the library community for turning out to vote for the April 1st election for Kathy Toy and Roberto Patella, a good turnout of about 2,400 voters. Apparently, Mrs. Derblick heeded President Truman's advice of not standing the heat, therefore leaving the kitchen. Might be heated again during the next 24 months as well. I have in a prior year awarded the Joe McCullough Honorary Limbo Bar to him for exceeding the depths of limits to which his behavior would sink, exceeding even the ridiculously low limit that the library community expected. Today, I have the remotely repulsive honor of awarding another such Limbo Bar certificate. This one goes to Carolyn Derblick. I'm only allowed 3 minutes and cannot begin to list the speeches made, comments made, and actions that she took. The list of items where she denigrated the staff, denigrated members of the library community, and denigrated her fellow board members is without limit. Such items subjected her to a board censure for actions during an executive session. She knew full well that it could not be quoted in open session. Suzanne Schoenfeld has any number of times quoted Carolyn Derblick as an explanation for her opinions or explanation for voting in a particular manner, even though no such explanation is required at the time of voting. Starting with next month's public comments, I will start quoting when she did exactly that. I will quote the meeting or opportunity date, the time within the meeting, and exactly what she commented. This is called turning up the heat in the kitchen. Thank you and good night.
Next for public comment is Tisha Ashcroft.
Thank you. Fortunately, the person that I want to speak about is not here yet, but at least I will get it on record. What led my father and I to start attending board meetings in November of 2018 was news about the possible unnecessary purchase of a home next to the library to make more parking. The board meeting had many firsts. It was my first ever library board meeting to attend, and it was my first time meeting Carolyn. Post-meeting, my dad and I had a short conversation with you. I immediately had a sense of what kind of board member you were, a very involved one. Here are the supporting observations I had of seeing you in action during that board meeting and tons of meetings to follow. You are the kind that ask questions, even though they have been hard or unpopular for some to hear. They were valid. You are the kind that connects with the patrons who use the library and listen to their concerns. You are mindful of the fiscal responsibility a board member should have, which you never lacked. You spoke up and questioned things when necessary and always stood by the data. I applaud you for putting yourself out there by deciding to run as a board member. To run it takes grit, stamina, being unselfish, and have a full understanding what it means to take on the task. I also applaud you for not giving up, especially on several occasions when people were not kind to you, which in the end is a bad reflection of them and not you. Finally, Carolyn, I want to thank you for the 2 terms totaling 12 years of service and all you have done for the stakeholders at this library. Sue, if you could please give this to Carolyn when she arrives. Thank you. I'm not seeing her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to add to public comment? I have not received anything in writing.
Thank you. We can move on to the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 4A through 4F.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, Victoria?
Trustee Kadir?
Yes.
Trustee Drblick, absent with prior, or late with prior notice. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Patello?
Yes.
Secretary Rosansky?
Yes.
Vice President Trunko?
Yes.
President King?
Yes. All right, so we are on to new business.
Can I
I'm
just ask
sorry.
you one question about the consent agenda? Did we determine that we don't have to actually read out all the items on it? Because I remember that was a question,
I don't believe we have to because it's on the agenda itself.
because it's written down. Okay.
And just for the record, I believe that was 6-0 passes.
Correct.
All right, so we have a presentation.
I'd like to introduce Julie Beloli from HR Source. She's going to present on what we utilize HR Source for, which is a professional organization that supplements what I do and what Cassandra does to support library staff.
Thanks, Valerie.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I did bring a little bit of info if anyone wants it, so I can pass these around. I'll also leave a few of my cards in case anyone wants one of my cards. So as Valerie mentioned, I'm from HR Source. We're an employers association based here in the Chicago area. Our office is in Downers Grove. And just to give you a little background about who we are, we're an employers association that's been around for 127 years now. So we have a long-standing history here serving organizations of all shapes, sizes, and industries. And the common theme is that they're all employers. So they rely on us for human resources and management and leadership support to take care of their workforces, pay them competitively, stay compliant with state and federal law, and just keep them engaged and retained. So we have historically served a lot of manufacturers, and about 25 years ago started opening up our membership to organizations in lots of other industries, because the HR contacts that we had at our manufacturing companies would go elsewhere and then say, well, I need you, and now I'm working at a professional services organization. Why can't I be a member? So we started serving other industries, and about probably 15 to 20 years ago, really got into the library world. So libraries are very cooperative, they're very collaborative, so word of mouth spread, and now we serve about 247 library members out of our 1,300. So it's about 20% of our membership now. So We love the library world. We're very entrenched in it. We work with the Illinois Library Association. We exhibit at their conference and sponsor some of their events. We have a relationship and partnership with Rails, reaching across the Illinois library system, and provide speakers on topics, and have a great relationship with them. So if you threw a rock outside the window and hit any of the libraries around here, they are probably members of ours. The Niles Main District Library has been a member of ours for about 15 years now. So that membership stays with the library. It's not the directors, it's not the HR persons, it is the organizations. So whoever is here in that HR capacity is our contact. So over the years, we've done a lot of work with the library in answering calls on our HR hotline about policy, practice, employee relations issues and questions. And of course, during the pandemic, there were lots of calls from all of our members about, COVID precautions and how do I navigate these challenges with my staff. So we're really here as kind of that extra resource for Valerie and Cassandra and Lisi to be kind of the HR department in their back pocket. That's really who we are and what we do. So we don't take the place of the HR function. We're kind of that augmented resource. Some of the other things that the library's used us for over the years have been some help with recruiting. In fact, I know we helped recruit for Valerie, back when she was placed here over a year ago. We've done some compensation benchmarking over the years. Folks have come to us for some of our training programs. In fact, I think there were a few folks that came in January to our Emerging Manager Boot Camp class at our office in Downers Grove. And there's been lots of participation in our surveys as well. So we publish compensation and benefits surveys. We have a library-specific survey. So this library has, participated year in and year out, and then gets to have free access to the reports by providing us their data. So there's been a really deep relationship over the last 15 years, and now with Valerie and Cassandra here, I came out to meet with them a couple months ago, make sure they're plugged into us, and just get feedback on their experience and make sure they're tapping into everything that we have to offer, and find out if there's other things we could be doing to serve the library. And we're pretty high touch like that. So we like to come out and visit with them and just, basically help them be better employers, because that's who we are and what we do. So I'm happy to answer any questions or elaborate on anything further.
Thank you.
I know when we talked, just to further the presentation, I had gotten questions about the reason why, even now that we have an HR manager in place, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but how do you support an HR manager rather than take their place? I know you mentioned that's what you do, but
Yeah.
can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So, as many of you know, there's a lot of things changing in the employment landscape. So just here in Illinois alone, our CEO likes to say that Governor Pritzker is, he's got a very ink-heavy pen. Like, he's signed a lot of new laws in the last year or two, really. So we keep our members up to date on all the changing laws and when those go into place and what you need to do and what policy might need updating, because this is now a law as of January 1 or July 1st or whatever it is. So we keep members up to date on all these things, because you can't stay up to date on it all. Like, you can't, it's hard. And when you're trying to recruit and train your people and then, pay them and keep things up to date in your, HRIS system, and then to stay on top of every single state and federal law, it's a lot. So we are really there to kind of help folks know what the priorities are. And then we're there to be a resource too for when there are issues that come up here. Like, if there is an employee concern, maybe there's someone that needs FMLA leave, a medical leave, or there's an accommodation request and they've never handled it. Cassandra or Valerie might call us and say, gosh, this is a new one for us. We've never dealt with this. Do we have to give this person an accommodation? Or this person claimed, they've been harassed. What's our next step? What do we do? Mm-hmm. So we can coach and guide them through those things so that they can handle it on their own. But then if they need extra support from us or extra help and say, well, gosh, we need to review our employee handbook, and we've done some updates, we've worked on the policies, but now we really need you to actually step in and help us and put the legal review to it. Our attorneys can do that. Those projects are an additional fee, but sometimes people need a little bit more than just the support and guidance. They need us to actually do a project, or they want us to come in and do training. You know, maybe it's communication training or something like that. So the nice thing is we can just provide that advice and guidance through the HR hotline that their team has access to calling, or we can take it that step further and train them how to do something, or they can outsource it to us and, you know, we can do the recruiting project, or we can review the handbook. So there's a lot of ways that we supplement the current HR function because, you know, oftentimes one person cannot keep up on everything. And we have a lot of members in the library world and elsewhere where it's a department of one and they don't have people to kind of talk through, you know, some of these tricky things with confidentially. And so they use us to kind of talk through those situations. And we're that third party, unbiased. Here's the outside opinion. We're going to be conservative in our guidance. We're going to tell you what the law says and what's going to keep you out of trouble, but we're going to give you the practical advice too of how to actually implement this in your organization. So
For the hotline specifically, we've called them many times because with our annual fee, there's no additional cost to talk to an actual employment lawyer when we go through HR Source. Whereas, and sometimes they do advise us go to our particular attorney based on the situation. And if we do that, then we incur the cost of calling Dennis, our attorney. But in general, most of the general guidance from an attorney is really helpful, just alone, regardless of the other benefits in the day-to-day operations of the library. So I've found that really helpful. And I do actually plan to engage HR Source coming up to review our handbook because we haven't reviewed our employee handbook since the union was adopted. And so we need to make changes in a lot of that language to reflect that we have adopted a union and some of the policies only apply to non-union staff and some policies apply to all of them. So I need help navigating that. And so I am looking to them for that resource as well.
I think on average over the last 15 years of membership, the library has called the hotline about 10 times per year, like on average throughout those years. So definitely making use of it, which is great because a few calls to the hotline, it kind of pays for the membership after a little while when you are talking to an attorney or to one of our HR specialists. So I'm glad it's been so beneficial and that you're making use of it. The nice thing is because we talk to so many members on a daily basis too, we kind of have the pulse of what's going on. In fact, today we had an HR hotline meeting with all the folks that answer. I do not answer the hotline myself, but it was interesting to hear because we're getting some calls from some of our nonprofit members now about, having to do layoffs. They're getting some grant funding pulled and now they've got a department of 5 that they need to let go. And what do? How do they handle this? How do they support those folks through that transition? So because we have our ear to the ground on what's kind of coming, we can anticipate resources that our members might need or training programs or, how to better serve them. And in the library world too, we've had members call over the last few years, especially during COVID, with challenges with just employee engagement and people getting burnt out and how do we, engage our teams and keep them motivated and take care of them. And retain them. So because we hear all this from lots of members, it just helps us serve everyone better so that the leadership team here doesn't feel like they're alone on an island either. So they can turn to us and we can say, we know what you're going through. We're hearing it from lots of folks. You're not alone. Let's talk this through. So,
And that really does help us. So thank you to the board for supporting us having this resource for the past 15 years. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to answer any questions. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Hope you
Happy
have
to
fun.
be here.
Wonderful.
Very pleasant.
So I just want to know the person who's throwing the lock at this other library. Are they an
Say again?
Olympic shot putter?
What?
The person who's throwing the lock at another
Oh.
library and hitting it, are they an Olympic shot putter?
You should have asked.
I'd like to make a motion to approve payment schedule for Frederick Quinn for the construction management services of the lower level remodel.
I second. Sorry.
Don't worry about it, at least took a second.
Does anyone have any questions?
Seems pretty straightforward. We wanted to hire them,
All right.
now we're hiring them.
Ready, me? Should I call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Trustee Kadir,
Yes.
trustee Derblick, late with prior notice, trustee Schoenfeld,
Yes.
treasurer Vitello,
Yes.
secretary Rosansky,
Yes.
vice president Trunko,
Yes.
and president Keen.
Yes.
6 yeses, 0 noes, motion passed.
I'd like to make a motion to hire Oak Brook Mechanical Services, Inc. to replace a hot water pump for the cost of $12,326 from the Capital Expenditures Special Reserve Building Fund.
Second.
Gotcha, yeah, man.
No, I was
No,
giving
he
it to him.
did this.
Wow.
He was trying to be nice.
Rich, I do have a question in reference to this before we proceed. In reference to the actual pump, how long does it take in terms of installing, and then what is the longevity of the actual pump itself?
So they're 30-year pumps. This one was installed in '97 when the building was built out from the original 1955 space. Takes about 2 days to install. And we're gonna do it off season, so the pumps won't be engaged, so the
Okay.
boilers will be off.
And then in terms of warranty, how long is the warranty for?
Only a year.
Only a year?
Stuff, yeah.
And then on parts and labor itself?
It's parts and labor for 1 year for any of the BG pumps.
Okay, thank you.
So off-season means
When the
heating
boiler-
season.
Yeah, the heating season is over, that's when we'll.
Yeah, because it doesn't affect air, it's heat.
Just heat. Yeah.
That's what I
We only
thought.
do the heat during the, if it's under 60 degrees, we have the heat system on.
So after May, or May, or,
It usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get these types of pumps, in terms of backlog, so it's gonna be in that
August.
period of time anyway.
yeah. Cool. Thank you.
And then the team, how many members is it going to actually do install? Is it gonna be
I
how
would
many
imagine there'll
members?
be 2 people.
2 members?
Yeah, it's a quite heavy pump, as you can see in the picture.
Franz and Franz.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Rich.
Ready to vote?
I think so.
Okay. Trustee Kadir,
Yes.
trustee Derblick, late with prior notice, trustee
Yes.
Schoenfeld, treasurer Vitello,
Yes.
secretary Rosansky,
Yes.
vice president Trunko,
Yes.
president Keen.
Yes.
6 to 0 passes.
Yep. So the next item on the agenda is discussion about outside groups presenting at board meetings, and I put this on the agenda because I was approached by a scout group who's interested in presenting their flags and doing the colors at our meeting next month. We have not done anything like this prior, and so I was not, it's not my place to say yes or no, it's the board's place as a whole, so I thought we should talk about it, and, then I can, if we're gonna do it for, I think, like, if we're gonna do it for one scout group, then we should
We do it for
do it for
both.
all scout groups, but then if we're gonna do that, then are we gonna go outside of scout groups, and how big are we gonna let it go, and what kind of things are we gonna wanna have, and do we wanna say yes to all scout groups, and then everything else is on a as-is base, or like a case-by-case basis, I don't know, so we kinda have to open it up.
Well, I think you should, as a whole, present it to the community, because we are a community for the library itself. And I think this would be good representation for the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Campfire Girls, and so forth and so on, and the veterans as well. Because then they're a part of the community, they're part of the library.
I'm down with kids and veterans. I think we should kind of draw the line there.
And do we want it to
because-
just be like, just that kind of thing, where they're presenting flags, or doing that, and we're not talking about, a Veterans Day celebration at a board meeting, we're
I
not
think
talking
we-
about.
As a whole, I think we should actually base it upon just presenting, the actual flag, and then they disperse after the presentation.
Mhm.
I don't feel that they should get into detail exactly what each organization represents or what they actually do. I mean, it takes time away from us. I mean, it'd be a wonderful opportunity, but I feel that as a whole, we could set maybe time for them at a later date and present what their actual organization does maybe. But then.
That's a
again,
fine line too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and as a former scout leader, I am all for the flag ceremony presentation, and they don't take that long.
Mhm.
However, anything beyond that, pertaining to scouts, veterans, or whoever wants to do it, can lead to something that we might wind up having go totally overboard. I think if we say yes for flag ceremonies, and then if something else comes up at a later date that somebody asks us about, then we vote on whether or not we want to do that. But to just open it up to everything, I think we've got a sticky situation.
Or unless you rotate it in terms of each other month, you
Well,
present.
and
like
that's
a
not what
solid.
I'm saying, Suzanne.
Okay.
I'm saying, yes, okay, fine for flag ceremonies, that's cool. But anything beyond that, you don't know what some other group is gonna come and expect of us. And the problem is, yes, it can take away from the time we have for our meeting, depending on how elaborate or whatever they wanna do. So anything else that comes on up beyond flag ceremonies, I think we should discuss it as a whole and decide whether or not we're open to it.
I have a recommendation. If the board wanted to put together, if you're considering other groups, put together a process where groups could approach the board so that you can then vote on it in one meeting and they wouldn't be able to present until the following meeting when it's voted on, if you wanted to do that. But typically things like this, I understand the flag ceremony is specific likely to the swearing in of new board members, which I understand could make sense.
Yeah.
But I do see why it would be on a case-by-case basis, whether you'd want to consider it. Mostly these types of presentations are more appropriate to coming to the staff so that we can open them up to the public in a different forum. They're usually not part of board meetings themselves.
I hear you. And personally, as a scout leader, in the past, it's been like village meetings or city meetings where we would present the flags.
Mhm.
So this is a new thing. We, as a library, as long as I've been on the board, have not had anybody ask us.
Mhm.
But like I say, I'm not against the flag ceremony
Mhm.
for if a group wants to present. If we as a board say, okay, for a special occasion like swearing in, like was asked, I have no problem with that. Or do we want to leave it? Because realistically, how often are we going to be approached?
We don't know. But I mean, I don't think that it would be every month or anything. I think it is a nice idea to have, especially the kids come in and do that,
Mhm.
that special thing. And for it to be special for them to do it here and for us to have it be special for us, that we're, exposing them to local government and being able to see how it goes.
Absolutely.
I don't think we want to have any other kind of presentations because that's just going to open a can of worms at every different turn.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, it's an honor when you're here representing the
Yes.
community as well as everything.
And it is our board meetings too, like you said. We don't want, the purpose of us coming for this meeting is to take care of library business. It's not to have
Exactly.
community organizations.
We don't want to,
I'm not saying that we never should have them. I don't know. It would be on, I think, a case-to-case basis, but our main focus is to get the business of the library done. But having that special beginning, and when we already have a flag here anyways, it's part of our meetings, I kind of like the idea of making it a little special.
Madam President, I have a question with regards to, are we going to set up criteria then for groups to essentially submit written requests to appear?
That's a
Or,
good question.
yeah, because I'm thinking of, in terms of our community, I think it's best for us to open it up for everybody. After all, we are a library open to everyone. I would hate for us to just limit it to a specific segment of the community. And if we have some type of criteria, it would be clear in terms of the expectation that we have for presenting.
Would it need to be, Valerie, maybe this is a you question, like a policy, like we have a room policy? Does it need to be like a
If you vote on it, it'll become a policy, and because it would be board-driven, I would recommend that you either develop a procedure or a policy that you vote on and agree on as a body, and have very clear guidelines on how that works, because sometimes our agendas are shorter like today, but sometimes our agendas are much longer and adding presentations might cause difficulty, and you don't know what the agenda is going to look like necessarily until sometimes the Friday before the meeting. So it's something to consider. I've not seen this at other board meetings. I've seen flag presentations for special occasions like you're talking about, but generally speaking, usually the presentations are like for HR source related specifically to library business. And so that's mostly what I see as far as boards getting business done.
As a former scout leader, normally, most people overlook the library and the board meetings.
Mhm.
The fact that we were asked, I think we ought to at least consider it. And if it's for next month when our new board members are being sworn in, I think that's perfect. I do feel, yes, okay, we need to write a policy saying, like we said, scout troops, veterans groups. Beyond that, you know, I think that's fine for flag ceremony only, not to go into craziness and having all kinds of other presentations that will detract from our meetings.
As a scout parent, I think my daughter would be very excited about coming and presenting. So
Kids
Can I
usually
ask
are
a
when they
question?
present before the village or
Yeah.
whatever, yes.
yeah, absolutely.
In terms of actual asking, Becky was asked, has other libraries been involved in something like that as well?
I can ask around. I am not aware of any library that
Because then you could
has.
find the protocol exactly as to what standards should be used for that type of situation.
I can see if there are examples. I can look into that, of course.
That'd be wonderful if you could do that.
Like I said, from my own experience, I've known they've done it at Park Ridge City Board meeting, and I think also at the Niles.
I could ask the village
Other
as well.
than that, I couldn't tell you if anybody that's done it at a library. I could find out without too much effort, because I've got a hand on the scout community still.
Mhm.
But to my knowledge, it's usually just the village or the city.
Do we want to postpone the vote until we find out, or do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, since it's not an action item. so
No,
yeah.
but
Okay.
I think it's something we should consider. But if we don't vote now, it won't be for next month.
Well,
Well,
you don't
we
have
don't need
to,
to
you
vote
don't
for it.
have a policy right now that requires a vote, so you could just give direction to President Keene saying, yes, it's fine that we put them on the agenda, or President Keene can make that choice because she is working with me with the agenda. But eventually you might want to have criteria, because you could want to decide also, do you want the same scout group to go multiple times in a year, multiple times in a row? Do you need to rotate it? Do you always want flag ceremony if that's something coming up, or is this just a one-time thing?
Is the policy committee meeting anytime soon?
Well, no, unfortunately, that's what I was going to ask. When the heck are we meeting again?
We can talk about that, I think, after the meeting.
Thank you.
We didn't meet last month because we were on.
Isn't anyone opposed to having them come next month?
Absolutely not, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the more we engage the community, the better we serve them. And so, but just going forward, I would like for us to set up some criteria
Okay.
so that other groups that may be considering participating understand what the expectation is.
And if we set it up as a policy, we should also set up how they contact the library
Yeah.
and so
Mhm.
on. And that's all part of our meeting, hopefully.
But then also they have to be dressed in their attire as well. I mean, they just can't come in gym shoes or something, like
Well,
a Boy Scout or something.
I understand what you're saying. Normally, most scout leaders, I can't speak for all, would have the group that's doing the presentation in uniform.
With their stashes and stuff. I was a
Yes.
leader myself, but I understand that. But it's just protocol because they're representing the community and what they stand for.
We
Yes,
can write that into the policy that.
yes.
Victoria, I know you're on a board. Has your board ever had presentation of the flag?
We have not.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of scout troops think of it.
Mhm.
It could be part of what they call a fly-up ceremony, to go up to the next level. Hey, you have to do a flag ceremony. That might be what this is involved with. So therefore, we probably wouldn't have that many people saying, hey, I want to do a flag ceremony, because they don't have the necessity to do it.
Let me interject again, in my tenure, I think it's 8 years on the board now, we haven't been approached, so that's different than.
I think they might be working on their like local government badge or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's different badges and things that this is probably applies to.
I agree, it's a really nice opportunity.
Yeah,
All right,
and if it helps them get an award or whatever, go for it.
all right, thank you. Okay, next.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 25-01, recognizing Carolyn Driblick for her service to the Niles Main District Library.
Is there a second?
Second. Lynn, can I say something as well?
I'm gonna read the resolution in, and then we have to vote on it, and if
Okay.
you'd like to say something, that would be during other.
It's a shame she's not here yet to hear it.
Okay, so I have a resolution recognizing Carolyn Derblick for her service to the Niles Main District Library. And it reads, whereas Carolyn Derblick has been a dedicated library trustee of the Niles Main District Library, and whereas Carolyn Derblick has served 2 full terms as a member of the Library Board of Trustees from 2013 to 2025, and whereas Carolyn Derblick has given generously of her time as a member of the Library Board of Trustees, and whereas Carolyn Derblick has participated in trustee training opportunities and has volunteered at library events as a member of the Library Board of Trustees. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Library Trustees of the Niles Main District Library that the Niles Main District Library recognizes Carolyn Derblick for her years of service. And we have to take a vote, yes.
Trustee Kadir?
Yes.
Trustee Derblick, absent with prior notice. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Vitello?
Yes.
Secretary Rosansky? Vice President Schronko?
Yes.
President King?
Yes.
6 yeses, 0 noes, passes.
Thank you. And that is other, so yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Sue.
thank you.
Carly?
I'd like to recognize Carolyn Derblick, remarkable service to the Niles Public Library. Carolyn Derblick has had an incredible journey with the Niles Public Library, serving and driving a force to the community for 12 years. Her unwavering dedication, clear vision, genuine love for both the library and the people at the services have left her a lasting impact. With a strong focus on advocacy, publicly making an oversight, Carolyn has played a pivotal role in ensuring the library remains vibrant and an essential resource for everyone. Her commitment to excellence and exclusive service has helped the library evolve and grow, staying strong to the need of diverse and ever-changing community. Carolyn's unwavering loyalty, impartiality, and strong sense of activism has been invaluable to the community to make this library a success. Thank you for your leadership, passion to the Niles Public Library. The public library remains a cornerstone of the community, a place where knowledge, creativity, and connection thrive.
Thanks.
Like I said, it's a shame she's not here yet to hear this.
Does anyone else have other?
Yeah, I'll jump on what you said. Carolyn did give 12 years to this board. It's not easy being part of a board or running for public office. While we may not have always seen eye to eye on topics, I do thank her for her commitment to running and being active in the community. So I do thank her for that.
Yeah, second what Jason said.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the April 6th.
There is no other?
That was
That was.
That was the other.
That was the other? Well, I'm just saying.
Together.
That's
No,
the
other,
other, because technically she's E. And then other is after that.
That was
That's
the
right.
other.
That was the other?
Other?
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the April 16th board meeting at 7:41 p.m.
Second.
Oh.
Oh, you got me.
Who'd you give it to?
Trustee Shantel.
Suzanne got it.
Yes, give it to the girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I please ask him something?
After we adjourn?
Oh, sorry.
Trustee Kadir?
Yes.
Trustee Gerber, absent, leaving prior notice. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Oh, yes.
Treasurer Griselle?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Secretary Rosansky?
Yes.
Vice President Trunka?
Yes.
President Keen?
Yes.
6 yeses, 0 noes, passes.
Hooray.